Well, I will say this. Nash is a great talking point because you are a Brooklyn Nets season ticket holder. You sat 10 rows back mid-court. And during the offseason, Nash had told people he was close with, I want to go back to playing tennis. This is a mess. I feel actually I'm happy occasionally for a coach. I don't know what you do here. I heard practices were a circus. Forget games. What do you make of the parting of the ways?
Okay, so obviously he was in, and both these things can be true. Steve Nash was in an impossible position, and Steve Nash, in 2+ years as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, has done a miserable job. Both of those things are true. I feel for him. Everyone likes him. He was an abysmal NBA head coach. For 2.5 years, they have been an awful defensive team, and they don't run an offense. The offense is simply, give the ball to Durant, let him do something. Give the ball to Kyrie, let him do something. And his playoff adjustments were simply, can Kevin Durant play all 48 minutes? Maybe, let's try it. So he was not doing a good job. He was also dealt an unwinnable hand. And the old next year Nets, I tried to warn everybody that the problem with the next year Nets is next year eventually becomes this year and then the games are played. And you're right, Colin. I've been at every Nets home game until last night. Last night I was out trick-or-treating with my daughter. And they've been terrible.
Yeah.
And they play basketball like they wanted to get their coach fired, which Kevin Durant, did demand they fire the coach. But I don't think firing Nash, bringing in Jacques Vaughn, who wins 28% of his games as a head coach, is going to fix anything. I know, obviously, they're going to go after Ime Udoka.
Yeah.
That's the obvious move. But I don't think that fixes things either. This is a poorly constructed roster that Sean Marks deserves a lot of blame for. Kyrie Irving, on the court, is wildly overrated as he's just a one-way player and doesn't really get his teammates involved. And off the court is as much of a disaster as any player as far as bringing on negative attention to the team as any player currently in the league. And KD literally doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So and they have Ben Simmons. Yeah. That was the other thing. Everyone's like, the Nets, who got swept in round 1 last year. Oh, but they're different now that they have Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons worth 16 playoff wins? I don't think so. So, yeah, they're in trouble.
Steve Nash been fired from Brooklyn. Now, I always say, when it comes to coaches, it's hard for me. I don't watch the film like an NFL coach, so I'm not going to bang on their play calling. They could have injuries I don't know about, substitution patterns, limitations. Is Steve Nash a great coach? Clearly, all they could rely on last year in the playoffs was Kevin Durant. That's all they had. I mean, that's Joe Harris. I don't trust him in a big spot. They didn't have Ben Simmons, available. They wish he was. He wasn't. Harden was, quit. He was gone by the end of the year. Kyrie doesn't, he made a great point about Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't, for a great ball handler who has the ball all the time, doesn't pass to others, doesn't play defense. Kyrie is just a singularly great offensive talent. He does not make teams better. He doesn't. Remember, when he was in Cleveland pre-LeBron, a lot of people thought he was a bust. He was never healthy, and nobody liked him. And then LeBron came, brought the leadership, the defense, the distribution, and he finished possessions with jumpers. He can play with both hands. But Kyrie is the great example. It's Westbrook. Does he make anybody better? No. He's just wildly talented. Now, Kyrie's a better shooter than Westbrook, and he's a better player than Westbrook. But Kyrie has always been a little fool's gold. That he's one of these guys that he gets endorsement, and he's a wizard. He's a great finisher. But some of this stuff to be great is defense, distribution, leadership, dependability. Kyrie is often hurt, rarely emotionally engaged, creates cultural fires minute by minute, day by day. And I think Steve Nash is better off coming back west where he prefers and having a life. Because I think everybody bought into this Brooklyn Nets story. And I said, go look at the best teams in the NBA. Boston starts with culture. Warriors, Stephen culture. Bucks, Giannis culture. Toronto Raptors a few years ago added Kawhi culture. Spurs for years, Duncan and culture. New England Patriots, culture. Bama football, culture. Stuff matters. It's not just throwing a bunch of dudes together. Dodgers have the most dudes. The Phillies are winning with Bryce Harper and culture.
You said Kyrie Irving doesn't really make anyone else better. Colin, I looked this up. a moment ago. Do you know how many MVP votes in his career Kyrie Irving has? In his entire career, just first place MVP votes.
None.
0. Not one. He's never finished top 12 in MVP voting. Like Russell Westbrook at least has an MVP award. He carried the Washington Wizards to the playoffs. Kyrie's never carried anybody anywhere. And the other thing, Colin, I'm looking this up. You want to guess how many coaches Kyrie Irving has had in his NBA career?
Let me guess. 7.
8 in 10 years. 8 coaches in 10 years. They're calling Kyrie Irving a coach killer. This is the second coach. He got fired in Brooklyn. Kenny Atkinson, you remember that? This guy's one of the most overrated players in NBA history. He hit one shot. That's it, Colin. One shot. Game 7 against the Warriors. Congratulations. That's it.
Yeah.
No MVP votes. All right. Steve Nash, a better player, had a better career than Kyrie Irving. Come on.
Oh,
2
absolutely.
MVP. It's not even close. The Kyrie Irving fans, these guys are clueless.